Not too long ago, I made a video going over the top 5 best Bankai within Bleach. A lot of you agreed with my choices and some of you disagreed, and since I enjoy being told that I'm wrong, I've come back with yet another controversial top 5 video. This time we're going over the 5 worst Bankai to feature within the series. Now this list is entirely my own opinion, so try not to get too upset about my choices. It's nothing personal, I just feel that some of the transformations within the series were very underwhelming and generally difficult to properly utilize if the right conditions were not met. This list is based upon the usefulness of the abilities and techniques within the Bankai, the general strength of it, and most importantly the drawbacks that have mostly led to them making it onto this list. So without further delay, let's dive into my list of the worst Bankai to feature within Bleach. Before the video begins, only 20% of the people who actually watch my content are subscribed to the channel. If you enjoy these videos, then subscribe and stick around for more content just like this. Now let's get back to the topic of the video. So we're starting with the number 5 least of the worst Bankai. We have the pre-1000 Year Blood War Daigoren Hyorin Maru. Admittedly, I struggled to finalize the least worst Bankai as I was juggling between Mayuri and Hitsugaya's, but after considering Mayuri's impressive use of his Bankai against Xyloporo, I had to go with Hitsugaya on this one. To be honest, this one choice may have already sealed my fate going into this video. When Hitsugaya activates his Bankai, ice flows from his Zanbakuto and onto his body. His hands and feet become ice claws, and these large oversized wings form from his back. Despite being physically very impressive and intimidating, I just feel that before the final arc of the series, Hitsugaya's Bankai was very unrefined. It is incredibly powerful, but its major limitation is that it can only reach a higher level of power after a set amount of time has passed. In some instances of his Bankai being activated, 3 flowers made up of ice appear behind him, like when he faces off against Haribel, and you'll notice how these flowers were not present when he fought against Luffy earlier on in the series. Each of the flowers are made up of 4 purple ice petals. Gradually, as time elapses, the petals disappear until all of them have melted away, and his Bankai evolves to a more mature state. Hitsugaya is a prodigy, and at a very young age he had become a captain. This means that his Bankai is far from reaching his maximum potential. He still has a lot of room for growth. Another reason why I have placed him at the bottom of this list is because he is very trigger happy when it comes to using his Bankai. He has absolutely no self-restraint as he activates his Bankai in almost every battle that he has ever taken part in, only for him to be bested by the enemy. Now if you think about it, despite activating his Bankai, Hitsugaya has lost a lot of the battles that he has taken part in. And before moving on, I did preface that this was Hitsugaya's Bankai prior to the 1000 Year Blood War arc, and by no means am I belittling his epic adult transformation or his holified Bankai that he showcases during Bleach's final arc. So moving on to the title of the 4th worst Bankai, which belongs to none other than Soifon's Jakuho Raikoben. This Bankai is visually stunning. It takes the form of an oversized golden missile launcher that covers her right arm. It extends down the length of her body as well as towering over her, acting as a face shield which protects the right side of her face. But the drawbacks to it are evident. Its ridiculous size makes it very impractical as it restricts the user's movement, and frankly it is only ideal if an enemy is trapped or is distracted, unaware of her preparing to fire her missile. Within Bleach, the characters take a great deal of pride in their powers and abilities, being selective with when and how they reveal the aces that are up their sleeves. Soifon similarly takes a great deal of pride with the fact that she is the leader of the stealth division, and is somewhat ashamed that her power is anything but stealthy. She even admits that her Bankai is way too big to be concealed. Its weight drastically restricts her movement, and when the attack is fired it causes an incredible explosion that is unfitting for someone who prefers to silently assassinate her targets. Because of the amount of energy required to charge up and fire her attack, it has an understandable limit of not being able to be fired more than once every 3 days, since it takes up too much of a toll on her body. However, during her battle against Baragon in chapter 369, she does fire a second missile at the same level of power not too long after she had fired the first. Now this pretty much ensured that she was not going to be of much use for the remainder of the Fate Karakura Town arc, as it took a lot out of her to fire her Bankai twice in such a short period of time. Additionally, firing this large amount of energy for her attack causes a significant recoil that is enough to blow her back, even tearing a steel sash that she had used to tie herself down to the ground with. Soifon's Bankai is another form that has been improved upon, and it works better during the 1000 Year Blood War arc, but its drawback drawbacks are enough for it to be included at the top end of this list, purely because of its oversized, impractical nature that even leaves Soifon feeling reluctant to activate her Bankai. Next up, we have another pre-1000 Year Blood War arc Bankai, but this time it is the false form of Renji's Bankai, which is known as Hihio Sabimaru. I describe this form as false because during the 1000 Year Blood War arc we learned that Zabimaru did not completely recognize Renji, so it had given him a false Bankai name that was unleashing an incomplete Bankai form. This unrealized Bankai transforms Renji Zanpakuto into an oversized creature that has the skeletal structure of a snake. It has an intimidating snake-like head that is decorated with red ape fur. Renji's attire also changes in this form, as he is now donning a fur coat with an ape skull over his right shoulder. He uses his power to smash the snake head into his opponents, relying on it to bite and inflict serious damage to them. His attacks in this form are very effective at long range, but it is pretty useless at close range. His Bankai is another oversized form that restricts movement and looks better than how it performs. Impressively, Renji's Bankai has several abilities, like being able to break apart and reattach the segments that make up his Bankai. If any segments are broken or damaged, he can simply remove them and reform his Bankai once more. In chapter 516, we see Mayuri reveal that the segments of his Bankai that were broken during his battle against Byakuya way back in the Soul Society arc are still missing, meaning that they did not heal after all of this time. This means that gradually over time, Renji's Bankai would become shorter if he were to overutilize his power, leading to more segments of his Bankai being broken and thus rendering them useless. The reason why his Bankai makes it onto the third spot of this list is because of its underwhelming performance. The first time that it was used, Byakuya had effortlessly took it out, and any subsequent fights that Renji has taken part in where he has used his Bankai were not all that memorable, since he hasn't taken out any powerful opponents with it aside from Grinja's Freshion and Xyloporo's brother Yilfert Grans. So the number 2 spot on this list of underwhelming Bankai is Seijin Komamura's pre-1000 Year Blood War arc Bankai called Kokujo Tengen Myo. After activating his Bankai, Komamura summons a giant puppet that is cladded in a form of living armor that resembles the battle attire that would have been worn by historical samurai. This giant is also wielding a large sword that is different to Komamura's Zanpakuto. The special power of his Bankai allows him to control the giant that he summons, as it copies his every movement, allowing him to deal devastating attacks with oversized proportions. Despite being really big, the giant can quickly copy Komamura's actions without being slowed down by its size, as it moves as fast as Komamura does. The strength of this Bankai is also its weakness. Because of the strong bond that Komamura shares with the giant, it means that any damage that his Bankai receives will also be reflected onto him. In a way, he is making himself a larger target open for attack, and this of course is a major problem if he were up against any powerful opponent. It makes sense that Komamura would only want to keep his Bankai active for a short amount of time, because he could take out his target with 1 or 2 destructive strikes at most. He would literally have to activate his Bankai and immediately strike the enemy, not giving them a chance to damage the giant. A pretty big upside to this Bankai is that if Komamura is healed, then his Bankai is also healed to the same extent, making his Bankai an exception to the rule that Mayuri had stated about Bankai not being able to be healed in chapter 516. It is unfortunate for his Bankai to make it so low on this list, as I personally didn't like it and I found it to be another oversized spectacle, with Kubo going for more style than substance with this form. There aren't going to be any honorable mentions on this list, as we're now going straight for the kill with the number 1 worst Bankai in the series, belonging to none other than Ikkaku Madarame, with his visually impressive but cumbersome Ryuman Hozokimaru. After activating his Bankai, he wields 2 large blades that are connected to a blade that is floating behind him. His Bankai understandably gives him a boost in strength, but when it is first activated, it is nowhere near performing at full power. We learn more about his Bankai in chapter 205, where it is revealed that his Bankai does not enhance his speed or his defensive power, but it can deal a huge amount of damage to his opponents. During his battle against the Arrancar, we see him spin his Bankai around, which increases his spiritual pressure. Ikkaku explains that his Bankai is slow to get started, since it is asleep whenever he decides to activate it. The only way to awaken its full power is to exchange blows with the enemy. Then when it begins to wake up, the dragon engraving on the middle floating blade begins to glow red. When the dragon turns completely red, then Ryumen Hozokimaru is at full power. The first weakness with his Bankai is that it becomes very brittle to the point of cracking because of the amount of power that it releases, which causes it to crack under pressure. In chapter 516, Mayuri had also stated that Ikkaku's Bankai was permanently weakened after his battle against the Arrancar Idrat. The design of Ikkaku's Bankai is incredible and the reveal was totally unexpected, but aside from this, it is hands down the worst Bankai in the entire series. Even upon activation, you can tell that it is difficult to wield, and any advantages he did have with it are now lessened considering that it is damaged. It just makes me think that he wasted his Bankai against a Fraction and he didn't even get to properly use it before it was thought to be lackluster. I do think that Ikkaku needs to train and hone his power more, and to be honest, this may be a similar situation to Renji's, and this Bankai form may be Ikkaku's false Bankai. There is every chance that he has not yet unlocked the true form of his Bankai yet because of a lack of training, or that his Zanbakuto has not properly acknowledged him as its master yet. Whatever the case may be, this does not detract from the fact that he is the most disappointing and underwhelming Bankai, especially after how hyped we all were after its reveal. We have now reached the point of the video where I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. What did you think about my picks for the 5 worst Bankai in all of Bleach? If you agree or disagree with my choices, then definitely let me know by continuing the discussion in the comments. Let me know what Bankai forms you found to be underwhelming and disappointing. Hopefully after this video, nobody can say that I do nothing but praise Bleach and its story. There are definitely those and areas that the story has weaknesses, as with any piece of fictional work. And lastly, thank you for reaching the end of this video, and I can't wait to see you in my next Bleach video. If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.